Hey, who'd you talk to? What's going on? It is me, Mike Lebry, King Michael. This is Legit Paranormal, brought to you by Legit Podcast.com. It is July 23rd, 2023. I like it that way. 07232023. Oh, Christopher, I don't know. I really don't know what this is. No, I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm not going to do. I'm not touching it. Not touching that number. Sorry, math geeks. Joining me as always, Buddy Money Thayer. What's up, buddy?
Good evening, Mike. How you doing? You're not all washed up. I thought you would be like a seaweed hanging out of your hat. And after a weekend on sunny and fantastical Block Island, it's good to see you made it back to the lovely town of North Providence.
I'm gonna be honest. If I could have seaweed inside me, it'd be somewhat similar to how I feel.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it, Mike. I was in the liquor store today, and I thought of you specifically when I saw this beer. I'm like, I got to get it. It's by El Segundo Brewing Company, which is not in sunny California. It is in Stratford, Connecticut, right just to the east of us here in Rhode Island. It's called Steve Austin's Broken Skull Double IPA.
That's awesome. All right.
I thought that Mike likes wrestling. He likes breaking his head and smashing chairs over people. I thought what?
Froze. 3, 2, 1.
I've had friends out on Block Island who hosted us this weekend and did all sorts of wonderful things. Big shout out to Rick Lysick. This is the one and only time you're going to see this, Rick. I do not like the New England Patriots. Thank you so much for yet another lovely weekend on Block Island, even though I only got to spend 4 hours with you. It's always a pleasure to do it, and I look forward to August and September.
Buddy, does that cup make the beer taste like a cheater? Joining us is Cynn Shrader Hill Author. What's up,
Hey, hey, and cheers to Steve Austin.
Yeah, Stone Cold.
Love that guy. Yeah. Love him.
Yeah. So really quickly, we had the Block Island weekend. Matt Warner came down. Much props to Matt Warner. He beat me in Connect 4. And then what else? Two things that stuck out. And they didn't stick out for being like the greatest things, but just odd. One was the magician, Handsome Rob. Yeah. Had Buddy stare at his hands. It was awkward. It got to be like so long because he was so focused. Cynn, the magician was holding the deck of cards at one point and going, and Buddy's just, and the card's on the guy's face. It's on his face, in his mouth, and Buddy's like that investigator. Like he picked the wrong person. He picked a paranormal investigator. So Buddy's like,
right,
looking at the friggin' hands. And the other thing was,
I couldn't ascertain. I couldn't see the trick. He was he's really probably the best magic show I've ever seen. Block Island Ghost Tours. Go out there and see Magical Rob. He's quite magical.
So what's great about him is he's more a mentalist, like the way he works it. But here's the weird thing that happened to me. So I would stand sometimes outside Block Island Ghost Tours, and people would walk by, and sometimes I entertain them and I talk. Like I had a really couple weird ones, but the oddest one was this guy came by with these little girls. They were both in like pink dresses of different sizes and ages, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And the little girl asked me a question like on the Block Island Ghost Tours logo, is that a real skeleton? And then I answer her. Next thing you know, it's like 10 minutes in, and I'm answering questions that are like made up, but I'm giving them real fake answers. And the dad's having a good time, but I'm trying to get rid of them. They came by 3 or 4 times, and it was most like scarier than like seeing Bigfoot. Without a doubt, like see those little girls just trotting down. I'm like, oh no, like they're gonna ask me questions and I can't deal with it. My brain doesn't work. Buddy, would you like to do the introductions of our guest?
I would love to do the introductions for our guest. Our guest joins us from parts unknown. I'm sorry, I don't know where she comes from. She's an author. She's a paranormal survivor, I guess you could say. Yeah, you could say that. Of quite traumatic paranormal experiences. Welcome to the show, Anna Maria Manalo. I hope I didn't mess up your name.
No, it's perfect.
Oh,
yes.
By the way, so you live near the Ultimate Warrior and in Parts Unknown. Who else was from Parts Unknown?
The Undertaker was Parts Unknown?
No. He was from Death Valley.
Death Valley, that's right.
Missing Link is from Parts. No, seriously, where are you? We're from, Anna?
Oh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, there you go.
Lovely state. I'm sorry.
So here's the first question I got to ask: Steelers or Eagles?
Neither one. I know nothing about sports.
All right, that's good. We're good.
Seriously.
Good. We just stay away from Eagle fans.
Okay.
They have a reputation for ripping places up. So, all right. I looked at a bunch of stuff that Buddy had written about you, which I can't believe he doesn't remember where you're from because it was in the said thing I read.
Okay.
So things that stand out immediately were obviously this losing your dad in the way it was written, like a tragic demonic
infestation.
That was the word. That's probably what got me. It's like, can you please describe what an infestation would be like?
You mean in this case?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Well, in this particular situation, at the time, I was only 2 years old, so I don't really remember much of what happened. I did remember as things went on when I was growing up in my grandmother's house, what an infestation was like. But for this particular one, I don't know if you guys are familiar. You probably have seen it several times. Richard Gere and the Mothman prophecies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah. You remember that winged creature that was at the TNT and all that. Well, in this particular situation, this happened 10,000 miles away. And cut me off if I'm, going on and on, because I tend to go on and on. And
no, so do we. Go right ahead.
So anyway, this is a little hamlet about, I would say, 50 minutes outside of Manila in the Philippines. So we're talking tropical beaches, things of that nature, but this was nothing like that. This was a very small town, and they were renting a townhouse. And in that townhouse, there was a creek in the back. And all along the creek, there were these huge trees. There were old trees. And this creature came out of the tree. It would come out every night. And what I would consider an infestation, to make a long story short, is there's just a lot of activity. And it's all like supernatural type. And this is what happened. My father was a writer like I was, like I am, I should say. He was, I am, one or the other. But he was typing away. He was one of the first people you probably ever meet that worked from home. He actually worked from home. He had his back to the window, and at twilight, this creature would come out from behind the tree, and he would feel. You guys are investigators, so you probably know what it feels like. You feel something intently looking at you. And he would turn around, and there was this creature that had a wingspan of about 6 feet, all across the window, clinging to the window, looking right down at him, and it had a face of a goat with the horns, and its eyes were yellow. And it had like that malevolent stare, like really, truly terrifying.
Let me ask you a question. Did he see it more than one night?
Yeah, he saw it for several months. At this point, no one else was seeing it, though.
So did he set up a trap?
I wish it was that simple.
See, I think simple-minded. I apologize for that. I am representative of the dumb, and we spell that with 2 M's. It's doing, understanding much more. And basically, if I hear something that's going to be brought down a level, by the way, any story that you can start off with Richard Gere and get all the way to where we are now is phenomenal. Like, I wrote that down, and I'm thinking, I want to see how many stories I can make that start with just Richard Gere. You know Richard Gere? And I'll name a movie. You know Pretty Woman? You'll be like, yeah. Boom. But anyways, I'm sorry. Back to what you're saying. So, all right. I'm an idiot. I would try to set a trap because I don't want anything staring at me. Like, if I know it's going to keep coming around, I got to figure out something. Oh, good.
You got 2 camps, right? You got the one where it's a physical being, and then you got the one where it's a being that's actually multidimensional. It was actually neither one, because one afternoon, and this is probably now 5 months into this rental, this was a rental condo, it was on the 2nd floor. My mother walked in on this creature as it was intently staring at my father. He had his head down, facing his typewriter, and the creature was effervescing through the window, going right through the window, almost coming in. And she reached for a crucifix or a cross, whatever you want to call that. It's probably about 1 foot high. And she actually came towards it with the cross, and the thing, like a vampire, just kind of shielded itself, like as if it had this huge wings, right? Like Dracula. And it just kind of like folded down towards the ground. They were on the second floor.
Jesus.
Wow.
But that didn't stop it.
Right.
So you tell me, I mean, is that a Mothman if the thing like just simply wants to disappear when it sees a cross?
Yeah, and just the fact that it came through like more of like a mist in a sense, and not like a tangible.
Yeah, it was coming through the window. So that was kind of like the beginning of the end. My mother did not tell my father that she had actually seen it as well.
Wow.
And then a few months more, and they found him in the tub.
Jesus.
I'll stop
Your
there.
father?
Yeah.
They found your father?
Yeah, in the tub.
So, all right. So, is this like a what's it called? Harbinger? Is that what this sort of thing is? Like, is it when it starts staring at you, like it's on
Well,
you?
they said it was also after me. I was too young to remember, but my mother's recounting was that they fled with me in less than a week after he committed suicide. They could not bury him on sacred ground. He was Roman Catholic. You're not allowed to bring him into a church. You can't bury him in a sacred ground. So there was a major dilemma having to do with all the funeral arrangements.
Oh God, yeah, it had to be. I mean, just having funeral arrangements, period. If you ever gone through them, is
right.
ridiculous.
So you get it. So what happened was I moved to my grandmother's house to live there, but it got worse. The creature followed us. That's what I was told. But I also started witnessing shadow and the smoking man right outside the bedroom window where they put me. And then we went on to seeing other creatures. There was one we called him Mumbo Jumbo. He would be squatting in the backyard. He looked gaunt. He looked like he was starving to death. And finally, my grandmother, who had been living there when the house was built, told us, they didn't know this, but when the house was built, it was actually built over bones of Japanese soldiers who were from World War II. So,
oh boy.
So yeah.
You don't build over bones. That's especially like in a war situation.
Yeah.
Those type, it's worse than marshlands. You just don't. But buddy, I don't know if you know this, right?
You don't do
In
it.
history, right? You don't do it, right? So here's my question, Cynn. Before I kick it to you, you said mumbo jumbo squats.
Yeah.
Okay, I was trying to figure out gaunt and thinking. Cynn, your question.
I'm still caught up on this infestation. So you said that one. So can you continue a little bit more? Was there another one that was different?
Yeah, when we moved to my grandmother's house, unfortunately, because of the way they just kind of built the house without checking into what was underneath, apparently there were a lot of entities that were present. And towards the backyard of the house is where all the activity begins. So one of the things that people would see is this shadow man that would just be standing like a silhouette in the middle of the backyard. My grandmother had at the time about maybe 6 to 7 cats just wandering about the property. And she had live-in servants. I mean, we weren't like affluent or anything. It was just a regular thing to have live-in servants. She had live-in servants that would feed the cats. And they would come out there at like 9 or 10 at night. And they would all quit because this thing would be standing there staring at them. And you could see it was floating a few feet over the ground. And it was just complete pitch black.
Yeah, I could see where they quit because if you weigh, seeing that versus feeding the kittens.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not that important, the kittens. I gotta go. I can't see this thing. Like that's buddy.
And the worst part about the creepiest part about this is the cats would come up decapitated.
Oh, no.
They would just simply, no one would know why they were dead. Sometimes they would lose arms and limbs, and there were no other creatures in the backyard but the cats.
So it was like a serial killer.
Yes.
That's gruesome. Gruesome. I actually knew of another cat serial killer, but you know this. My dad used to own old Italian apartments down on Federal Hill in Providence, which is all Italian. And there was a guy on the third floor that he kept playing the drums, and he was bothering the neighbors. So my dad, being the landlord, had to go to the house. Goes in the house, and there's cats hanging all over the guy's house.
Oh, wonderful!
Them on boxes, playing the drums, kicking it out, and letting them hang. That was the smell. That was the noise. My dad had to call the cops. It's a horrifying story every time he used to tell me. And it just reminded me of the decapitations. Now, Cynn, this energy that's following, I don't want to say it's following her, right? But is it following her?
It sounds like it did. I mean, and she even said her mother thought it followed her.
Yeah.
So I'm inclined to believe it did.
So you create infestations, basically.
Well, I don't know if I did, because there was some already in the house before I moved in there. It's just that I ended up having another entity following. I guess it's me and my mother that it followed. And I don't recall exactly what they did, to tell you the truth, how they finally got rid of that one. But they never did get rid of the Japanese guy who looked like he was starved to death. There was a man who would look in the window and it looked like he was coming out of smoke. We had these little, I guess you call them elementals. They were only about maybe 4 inches tall. And they would go up into the windowsill and they would be carrying these tiny coins. I'm not joking with you, Mike.
No, I'm believing you, but you don't understand. That's creepy as heck.
I mean, there's just some really freaky things. And then one of the worst things, and this is all in my first book. People don't believe this, that I actually lived through this. But my grandfather was a medical doctor. And he had a laboratory, almost like Frankenstein, on the second floor of the house. Okay, this is now my grandmother's house. It happened to sit right on top of the floor where I had my bedroom. And they said the reason why there was a lot of activity, we actually brought in a white witch. I guess you would call her a white witch. You know, she made poultices and, you know, did incantations. She did a lot of things to try to bless the place or rid it or whatever, because the Roman Catholic priests weren't doing anything about it. So she came in and she said all the bad energy, the bad moho, is on towards the back of the house, where the bedroom is on the first floor and then that lab on top. And the reason for that is there's a jar at the very corner of that room. And my grandmother knew what she was talking about, but because it was a family thing, she knew it was very confidential. She wondered how this woman knew about it. And come to find out, there was an infant that was stillborn that was placed in a jar in formaldehyde.
Ooh.
Oh.
Wow.
Yes.
That was in the lab?
That was in the lab.
Okay.
Yes. So it was never given a proper burial. It was, you know, they said it was folded up just like a fetus, and it was in a jar, a glass jar.
Wow.
I couldn't even do guinea pigs in sophomore year of high school science. Couldn't even cut into those.
Yeah.
Being serious.
Yeah.
I'd have to be angry, and I'm not angry at a guinea pig. So isn't that like put it in a jar? You have to shut off a certain part of your brain to be able to just be cool with that.
Yeah.
Hold it, bang. Really? Like I'd be like, no, you should don't. You know, I'd be stop. Don't put it in the jar.
Yeah.
But Buddy, how would you feel if you found that in your basement?
I'd be a little bit revolted, to be honest with you. I had a girlfriend who used to like collect like and sold oddities and just like weird bones and stuff. Some of it was all right, but some of it was just like the funeral objects would just give me weird vibes, man. I don't. There's some things I'm just not comfortable with myself, and a dead fetus in a jar would probably make that list of things that I'm not comfortable with.
It better. Well, it better, buddy. It better.
You would think,
hold
Mike,
yourself,
right?
buddy. Settle down, buddy. Settle down, because it better. It better bother you. Cynn, I'm not going to ask you that question. What I'm going to ask you, Cynn, is what are your thoughts on why it was in that jar, and why do I have bad feeling if it's in a lab? They might be working on it or working with it.
Well, long ago,
here we go.
My understanding is that when medical doctors were trained long ago in the 1940s, they also were taught how to create basic medicines. And I remember taking one of my grandfather's medicines for cough, cold, asthma. They were pretty effective. I mean, you were well in a matter of 3 days. So he used that lab for that purpose. The other thing that you need to probably know, and, I'm not pointing fingers at my grandfather, but surely he knew it was in there. He came out of World War II. He was in a MASH unit. And they said it probably made him very callous. And just to survive and to remain sane, these kinds of things almost like, it's almost like you just put a bee in a jar to him.
Yeah.
And then eventually it disappeared. It just simply disappeared one day. He came in, took it away with him, and it was gone.
Did you ask him where he was going?
Jar, yeah.
Did you ask where he was going with the jar?
I don't know. I think at that point I was only probably about 7 years old. It was just talk in the family. I mean, there was a lot of family members that lived in the house.
But could you feel the energy change when the jar left?
No, actually, the energy was still that's one of those homes where you're never supposed to be left alone. Oh. Because the energy tends to ramp up. The entities tend to really feed on people when they're alone. You're more likely to see things, especially towards the back of the house. And there's kind of like an unspoken rule that at dusk, you just don't go to the backyard.
Wow.
Wow.
And were you left alone a few times to kind of find this out?
No, thank goodness I was never. It was a large family. There were 6 kids, including my mother. My mother had actually already moved out, obviously when she got married. But there were also uncles who were still living in the house. They were the youngest in the family, and their friends came over. I mean, they were, close to high school age or past high school. So it was always pretty lively, how things go with friends coming over. So I was lucky enough. I never really was alone. But, once dusk started, you could really feel the change in the house. There was a woman who was constantly sweeping, I should say, right at the front doorstep past our gate. She was sweeping. And then when you call out to her, she just disappears.
Wow.
Oh, wow. I don't mean to say that, but that's not a bad ghost to have.
No, that's a pretty good one to have, actually.
If you got to pick, who your ghost was so far, I take the sweeping one over pretty much almost anyone I've heard of, because I could use that one. That doesn't work that way. I get it. So, all right. It's very active because of what it was built on. It's very active because of the family that's in the house. Because I would move. I could not live in a house that I thought was like that. And I'm thinking the backyards, is that because they all lit into woods?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I thought.
Well, there's some woods, and then after that, you had a neighbor whose backyard was backed into that, and they had similar encounters and things. And sometimes people would call my grandmother when she was alone in the house and say, "Are you having a party over there?" She's like, "No, I'm alone in here." And they said that they would see lights blinking off and on the second floor. They would see people looking out the window, all kinds of activity. Wow. Real fun stuff.
Nothing good comes out of the woods.
No. It doesn't.
I got woods than me. Mm-mm.
Plants.
Well, yeah. I can say rock. I go 1 for 1 for the Anna the writer. Daisies. There's daisies in the woods. All right. Oh yeah, there is a big fear of the woods. Let me ask you this: did they ever use dogs to go out, scope things out? Because that's what I use my dog with. No.
When I was a UFO investigator, though, I had 2 dogs. Well, I still do, but they're 2 different ones. And when I investigated a site, I always brought them with me, just kind of like as an early warning system.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're pretty effective that way because, they have that kind of sixth sense. But I don't think we ever had a dog in my grandmother's house. We had cats. And like I said, a lot of tragic things happened to them. And most of them were unexplained.
That's awful on two levels. One, what happened to the cats. Two, that there were no dogs. Because goddamn, dogs are like literally like my dog, he can feel the room like energy wise. Like it's weird with him. Like I realize that like whatever energy I think of and I act like it in my head, he starts to like get like shaky and ready to go. And I'm not even saying anything to him, but he knows. So it's like I think they're smarter than us, if I gotta be honest, right?
Yeah.
It would probably go us then dogs. Like they kind of have it right. In other words, they don't remember much. They go room to room and just lay down, take a nap, no thoughts, no worries. Like I can't even nap, period. You know what I mean? I haven't slept, and I haven't slept well in about 3 days. I may have gotten 3 hours sleep maybe each night. Maybe. I was at Block Island. We had like a paranormal fest, and
Ooh.
It was. Yeah, I'm old. Like I'm 79 this year. No, it's not looking. I'm not Clint Eastwood. I'm no Clint Eastwood. All right. So, Cynn.
Yes.
When you, I keep bringing it up. It's a common theme. But when someone's in a house they know that is extremely haunted, I always want to ask why don't you get out? Like, I would leave, but there's a lot more to it. I know, but so good.
Well, I mean, first off, a lot of people don't have the means to move.
Yeah.
I mean, they're kind of stuck in their situation. So with her as a child and a single mom coming in after the death of her dad, I mean, that was probably about the only place she could safely go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, we shortly moved after that because we moved to the States, but, and then all the ghosts were, I guess it was too far away.
That's a good point.
No, that's awesome news that we can move away from ghosts. That's a good feeling that I could just move far enough away. That's good. That's a good feeling. I feel better now. So wait a minute. So you guys couldn't leave. How bad did it ever get? Well, like what was the after the second house? Like what was the pinnacle of it? Like other than the cats, I guess.
Well, there was a lot of things that were happening because, first of all, there was conflict within the family members.
Okay.
And, they tend to spur that on. People would get sick. My youngest uncle got married and temporarily moved his family there. And this is after we left. And he remarked how quickly he lost his job. Started having arguments with his wife, started having difficulty with his own mother. Kids, the two kids that they had, subsequently, one developed asthma. They attributed my asthma to whatever was happening because once I moved to the U.S., it was gone. Like I never had it. Yeah. And then all the illnesses, all the childhood illnesses, they were prolonged and he could never explain why. Doctors couldn't explain why. And so one day he said, okay, we got enough money. We're going to move out. They moved out and instantly the kids were fine. The marriage was good. He had a promotion. I mean, everything just kept moving upwards. It was a good thing they were not followed. My grandmother stayed in the house. And at some point it was only her and one of her children. And they said that you get to the point where you know how to protect yourself.
Okay.
My grandmother was a very brave person. She built an altar in the backyard. And she also built an altar in the living room, which is at the front of the house. So she had both sides of the house covered. And that seemed to kind of mute the activity because they would, the Roman Catholic, 99% of the Philippines is Roman Catholic. So, after that, things kind of got dulled a little bit, I guess manageable. There were still some times where, when people would breathe in your ear, you turn and there was nothing there. It usually happens in one particular window by the kitchen. I mean, there's a story in every room, actually.
Of course.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's just so hard to get my arms wrapped around. Like, to have one room where there's a breather. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
room by room, I got to deal with another like sort of like ghost type trick or what it's going to do to me. This is the poker room. Like you go in the room and they touch you. Like I don't want to ever be touched. I don't want to hear the breath. And some people want to do that. They want to hear it, right? But here's the thing: the positive and negative. I was having this conversation. A lot of people don't believe in demons. I think they don't like the word, the vocabulary word, because they think right away to angels and all that stuff, and it's just like but there's good and bad, right? You believe that there are people that carry good and bad, and it's almost like they distribute it, like they pass it out. Does that make sense?
You mean as in like having attachments?
I just mean
Their energy?
Their energy is of where it likes to spread bad type things, and then there's some that have good type things. Like I feel like I know people that are like that. That like he just like Buddy shows. Let's just use Buddy. I know it's not Buddy, but Buddy shows up, and then everybody just goes, "Oh, this party stinks." You know what I mean? I'll be like, it's got to be Buddy. So right, that's my point. Like there's people that I know that are like that. So it's just Buddy coming to the party, and he's just like spreading this like want to party vibe. Not that Buddy would ever do that.
Well, I mean, on a serious note, there are some people who are, I guess, the life of the party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you got the party poopers.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you also have the people who have these negative attachments. And I'll tell you this, I just remembered something that's really good. And this is all in the book Portal, the first one I wrote. Years and years later on, okay, my mother moved to New York City. I moved to Connecticut, joined another family member over there, okay? My mother was in advertising for a long time. One of the things she chose to do after working in New York for a long time was move to Connecticut to be near me. And then from there, I moved out of Connecticut, and that's how I ended up in Pennsylvania because of a job. But she chose to buy this place. And I don't know if it has anything to do with the place, but I mean, the energy was negative in this place. And I went to visit her. And as I was walking down the hallway, this is at 11 o'clock at night. Okay. I just taken the train. It takes about 3 hours to get there to Connecticut from here in PA. And there's a male voice coming from the thermostat to my right as I'm passing the hall. It says, "Get out."
Wow.
That's cool.
So it gets better. Okay. Hold that thought.
It does?
Better?
Yeah. I go into the bedroom and I'm changing. It's now 11 at night. So I figured, I'll start getting ready for bed, whatever, right? I get ready. The room temperature in the room, this is in, I would say, the middle of winter, okay, which is understandable. She had the heater on at 72. That was before I checked it. Felt like it was only 30 degrees in the bedroom. It just simply plummeted. So I went back out, looked at the thermostat, which is where I heard that voice. I'm scrutinizing it, trying to figure out, did someone just say something to me? Right. And then I looked at the thermostat was 72 degrees. This is a small condo.
So there's a guy in the furnace.
Yeah.
He lives in the furnace. There's a guy that lives in the furnace.
I wish.
Oh, all right.
So I walk out back the hall. I go into the living room, wondering what she's watching on TV, because I figured there's a guy talking on TV, yada, yada, yada. Mm-hmm. No, it's the news. It's a woman. So I walked back down the hall. I didn't say anything to her. I laid down. I shut the lights off. And guess what happens?
Let's go on.
No, I wish the lights did. Something just pushed some kind of sharp object, like a knife, in my back.
Ooh.
What?
In my back.
That's not cool.
No.
So my whole body arches up.
Mm-hmm.
I jump out of bed. I had like a comforter. I have 2 comforters in there because it was only 30 degrees. But when you get out in the hall, it's 72. Okay, like there's a thin line between the room and the hallway just a few feet later. 72 degrees, 30, 72, 30. Anyway, I jump out of the bed. I pull the sheets off. I look down and I'm touching the mattress. There's nothing there. Okay. So I jump back in again, pull the covers up, shut the lights off. This time there's 2 knives. It's trying to get me out.
You think? All right.
So I leap out of the bed again, and then I turn all the lights on, and I take the rosary, and that's when I started doing my prayers of protection. Eventually, the room, in about maybe 15 minutes, the duration of time that I was saying the mysteries, I felt it go up. So warm that it started to make me sleepy. And then finally, I shut the lights off, and they left me alone.
Wow.
All right.
Well, you're stronger than I am, because after that first knife, I would have already been saying my prayers. Right there.
So wait a minute. Hold on. Now, Anna, this is maybe you don't follow orders correctly. Like,
Orders.
I think you started this out with the guy in the furnace telling you to get out.
Oh.
And you didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't care.
Well,
Like, he said, get out. He didn't say something that was, ridiculous, had nothing to do with that situation, but specifically to get out.
He didn't say anything else but get out. And I just ignored it, figuring it was the TV set.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a bad call then on your part.
yeah, but all of us, Buddy, I know, has heard get out before. I've heard get out before.
Of course
Yes.
he has. Then.
I've heard Get Out so many times. On Block Island, I heard Get Out.
All right.
It's I honestly, I heard it after the fact, and I didn't get out, and the experiences only got better. So
Yeah. But you didn't have a knife in the back, I'm taking, because I
that's
didn't.
true. They weren't threatening me with knives or weapons. So there's that.
Look, knife in the back is already, that's the deal breaker right there.
Right.
That's the get out now moment. If it's not get out and it's not the temperature, it's the stat. When a knife gets involved in any situation, it's time to get out, other than like for food. Would we agree on that?
Right.
I mean,
It wasn't there. I knew it wasn't there.
Yeah, but
I knew it had
smell.
something to do with something supernatural.
yeah, I know, but
Yeah,
still.
I felt it, but there was, I touched the entire bed. There was nothing there.
But
So there was only
still,
one thing left to do.
leave.
Dude, run. That's it. Yeah.
I'd make that Roadrunner cloud. Pow. You see me go, pew, gone. Faster than you think. I am faster than you think I can. No, look, some people, we were talking about Matt Warner, he's an adrenaline junkie. He likes the idea of being scared. He likes to be scared. That's what he likes. That's why he'll stay in a haunted place and he likes it. With me, that's just more stress on top of my life. I don't need anybody else's stuff. So, I don't want knives and stuff like that. Cynn, where do you sit on that? You kind of like it, right? To be around it?
I like it to the point of knives and bodily harm. I don't want to be hurt.
Good call, then. That's a good.
Right?
You shouldn't want to be hurt. I agree with you on that.
Right.
On any deal, whatever it does, too. That's another one. Write that down.
Yep.
So, all right, Anna. Honestly, what is it that makes you such a the immovable object? Like, you just, because it starts with your grandmother. Honestly, right? She stood her ground in the house that she wasn't going to leave, and she stayed there the whole time. And then you seem like you have that in you. You just stay there. Tells you to get out. You're like, it's TV. This happens. You're like, I know it wasn't real. You just let stuff roll off your shoulder like you could run for mayor. Like, it's real good. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I knew it was.
I didn't tell her anything that was happening. I chose not to tell her what was happening at all because she's alone. She's elderly.
Yeah.
It would scare her to death. And what would she do? The Roman Catholic priests don't do anything like that. So it wasn't until probably months later after I left that I told a close friend who then in turn came in and checked out what was happening with her and then finally sat her down and said she was afraid to tell you what was going on here. How would the rest of the time go? And she said, fine. She never told me anything.
Yeah. No, that's one of those things where you don't I don't know if you tell everybody. You know what I mean? That's a need to know basis.
Yeah.
I would think.
Exactly.
Because I don't, buddy, help me out here. Like, again, what is it that makes you want to know? You would want to know what's going on in that house. You would want to know everything. Where I would rather be ignorant and not ever know.
Because I want to be able to explain it rationally to the clients that I'm working with, be able to give a rational explanation that's not like, hey, you're crazy, or hey, you're crazy. But like I don't know, something I always want to know more too, especially when dealing with the paranormal.
Hey, can I ask you something? Why'd you lean in all dreamboaty like that? When you were like?
Sorry, Mike. I just wanted to know a little bit more about the paranormal.
I know. Well, you find out. Cynn, are you the same type of person? That's what you want to do?
I do. I do want to learn as much as I can, and you know.
All right. So there are people that want to know, they want to ask more questions, basically, right? You just want to keep asking more questions. If you can get one thing answered, you're going to push it to the next question. That's kind of what I don't investigate in. I don't do it. I don't want to do it. I let them do it, and I can do podcasts. Like, I'm cool with that. Like, I don't want those experiences. I think I've had enough. Really, I think I have. It's been a long life. I'm like 76. The last 26 years have been like rough. But
you're 3 years younger in like a half an hour. It's amazing.
I know.
That's not paranormal. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's not that bad. It was only a 3 year dip. But now I can go by. I go to 74 later. What are you rat me out? All right. Anna, when you write the books, right?
Yeah.
Other than when you drew from your experiences, you started to do something that's similar to what Cynn does in her books. You started to talk to other people's. God darn it. Other people. Their experiences. Is that what you did?
What I do is I take cases from other people. I get a consent from them to share specifics about the case. And then I do something like I write out a plot so that it's pretty entertaining and readable. And I interview them probably about maybe 15, 20 times in a given 2 months.
Yep.
And then from their interviews, I put together a story, from beginning to end.
Yep.
Beginning, middle, end. And then that's just where it takes off. I did that for Unholy Structure. I don't know if you guys know John Curley. He's at the Harrisburg Paranormal Society. I did a book on one of his really difficult cases. It took about 4 years to close. Wow. And it still was unsolved by the time it was done. And then I did Haunted Heirlooms, which is the one about antique dealers, what they shared with me with cursed objects that they had and haunted objects they had in the shop.
So, all right. So basically, they tell you this story, and obviously, someone's regular life isn't a readable story. Like, I woke up, I had waffles. You don't want to know that. That's not going to be in the book. So you take what they all tell you, and you put it into like a beginning and ending, and then there's either going to be that aha moment in the middle, or it looks like all hope is lost moment. Right? That's the pivotal spin in the middle. Structure-wise?
Well, what I do is I naturally write the plot based on what they're telling me. I try to put it in chronological order. The most recent one I released is called Night Visitants. This guy happens to be a ufologist, but then the story that he shares with me about another woman was actually a situation that was a little bit different from what we thought it was originally. Now, this book I got a little too close to because as I was interviewing her, I experienced my own haunting in my house while I was interviewing her because we thought it was a UFO abduction, and it's something else. And I'll leave people to decide what that something else is, because I tell you something, I almost stopped writing that book. It was terrifying. Wow. It was, and there was a presence in the bedroom. I actually ran to a church the next day because I was afraid, they're like leeches. They'll attach themselves to you. After a period of time, they see that you're intensely interested in them or however they interpret it, they're like leeches. They'll cling to you. And the next thing you know, you have an attachment. So I said, no, this is not happening to me again. So I ran to the church. I did everything I could to get protection. And then I contacted her for the final time. And this is when she told me how her husband passed away. It was very tragic. And then I closed the book. I had enough material. It was 250 pages later.
Wow.
All right. Happened in your house. That's a sign. Maybe you don't write the book. But secondly, like leech, like, has anyone ever gotten a leech attached to them, like a real leech?
Yeah.
No.
It's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah, they're pretty awful. It's like it takes.
The word attachment is widely, like, loosely used right there. Like, they're like they go like it's awful. So these things are connecting with you, and are they changing your decisions, or are they just like playing with the scale of good and bad on you, and they're just trying to push one side down? Like, what's your opinion on that?
I think they were toying with me. And what I needed to do was get some clarity on what my goal was. And my goal was to tell people out there, if they're willing to listen, don't play around with the Ouija boards. Don't go buying cursed objects, haunted objects, and, just for the fun of it, walk into a haunted house. If you know it's an active infestation, it's not a game, because you may take something with you. And the most recent book I have coming out in October, this girl was drawing figures of demons, and guess what happened?
Oh no.
She got possessed.
Yep, thousands of miles later, there it was, somewhere in Europe.
So listen, you should run for mayor. But secondly, listen, we could do a show called Para Common Sense, and we'll just be like, look, don't draw pictures of devils because you might get one. And then they'll just go, what? We'll go, that's common sense. We go on to the next one. Don't go into a haunted place if you don't want something haunted to come with you, because there's haunted stuff there. That's just common sense. Yeah. We move on to the next one. But I think it works. So you read a book called just Common Sense. Our Common Sense. And it's just like, it doesn't have to be filled. It can be just like big blocky words, like just every page for the dumb people that just flip like that. Go ahead, buddy.
So you experienced years of this in the Philippines. You came to the U.S. 2 quick questions. I know you said that you didn't really experience much, or they didn't follow you. But having experienced this trauma in itself, does that make you more susceptible to experience further awful spirits or traumas or demons or negative entities than, like, say, myself or Mike for that matter?
I don't think it does now. I think when I first came here, when I first arrived as a teenager, by virtue of the fact that I was an adolescent, your emotions are up and down, and they tend to feed on that.
No.
There was a lot of instability in the family at the time, yes. But now, as I'm moving on, it just seems to me that the more I know how to protect myself, the less likely they think they can just approach me. I'm going right back to that condo, by the way, that had the knives in the bed. I'm visiting over there for about a couple of weeks. So, but I don't have the same attitude.
Yeah, but you're making it sound like
it's a vacation.
Romantic getaway. Yeah, I'm going back to the knives. It's gonna be great. Whoa, yeah, I'm haunted there. I verified me. I said I'd never come back, but I'm going. Yeah. All right. What Buddy was asking, mental trauma. If someone has something really bad happen to them, it's very just out of left field type bad, and you're just like, what? I feel like sometimes that opens up.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Anytime there's something that's emotionally violent, or something that's like war, for instance. Yeah. All these battles. Look at Gettysburg. They just had that bash. They wouldn't have had that bash if for the fact that, there weren't, spirits there that were roaming all over. Right. Those create the problems. Those are the ones that create hauntings, because those people now are emotionally overwrought. Their lives have been destroyed. Yeah. And these negative entities attach themselves to these people. Because it breaks into a portal. You break into a portal. Every time something tragic happens to you, you open a portal. That's just my feeling.
Mm-hmm.
See, where I can agree with that is, I know, like, I've had moments where you just see something that your brain can't process. That's what I mean by those moments. It doesn't be what it will. You know what I mean? But we've had moments, or I have, where I'm just like, what am I like? What is going on? Like, I'm just like, what do I? And then you just do something. It's like you're not even thinking, but you're doing it. So I've had those moments, seen stuff like that happen. I've always been different after that. That'll always change me a little bit, right? And that's actually one of those go get a tattoo moments, right? For real. One of those moments where you get broken. It's like you're just trying to figure out how to. You're not going to be the same you, but you got to figure out how to get back to on the same path, if that makes any sense. And it's, I can see where that
the challenge. It's they try and unseat you, and then is there a way for you to figure it all out so you come back winning and more wiser than before?
So then,
and stronger than before.
So how about meditating, praying, trying to be connected more to positive than negative? Because like I'm of the theory that we fight it every day. It's like a constant battle within us, right? It's like sometimes it's just whatever it is. But positive energy, like Cynn, help me out here, because I'm gonna start to say something about the White Witch, and I really was about to do Wizard of Oz right there. Like I got into it too much because I'm thinking about it. The positive energy, right? How do you attract that? Like how do you attract positive energy? That's like the one thing, if I could ask anybody ever, more than money, like I don't want the lottery numbers. I want to know, how can I attract positive energy?
Well, you don't draw demons.
Yeah, there you go. We're going. It's going.
So yeah. So positive attracts positive in this position.
Yes.
In anything like
I
that.
agree.
So you have to be
Absolutely.
positive.
Okay. So now, say you're positive. Here comes Mr. Negative. What do you do then? You put up a shield, you block them out. What do you do?
Well, I'm old enough now that I diss any kind of negativity. I don't need it. I hate drama, can't stand it. And I'll push it away. Even if it's a family member, which it is, I don't deal with him. Can't.
Right. Straight up right there. Anna, your thought? Ooh, what happened? Buddy,
you talking to me?
Yeah, Anna, to you. Same thing. Like.
Okay. Yeah, I'm losing you for a minute there. Well, I mean, just like Cynn said, if you just kind of like mute the negative, ignore it, avoid giving in to the drama. I mean, I've seen people arguing back and forth. It's like, why are you giving this any energy? You know, just say, okay, we respect your differences, and leave it at that. And the less energy, the less attention you give the negative, and throw something positive out there, the more likely it'll dissipate.
It's all karma, man.
And wait,
that's what I believe. That's just my
when the negative hits, if you can shed it and not let it affect you, like the worst thing I do in life is that I'll sit here and get upset stomach because I'm thinking about tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that bothers me because it's like, dude, you should be smart enough, which I'm not, but I should be smart enough to be like, I'll worry about that later. I don't need an upset stomach right this minute. I'll deal with that later. I can't do that though.
I'm right there with you, Mike. I worry too much. Yeah. I think too much, but yeah.
Is it more about numbing it, Anna? Like, is it, you want to be, I don't mean numbing it like drinking, this kind of stuff. I mean, like when you're around the negative, it's more like just
blocking it.
Throwing a blanket on them, basically. You're throwing a blanket on them and you're just like, not a baby in a jar.
I don't think you can, because there's a reason why you're worrying and feeling it. Maybe it's kind of like your psyche is demanding for you to get more creative about how you're dealing with it.
Yeah. Or some cases like my
nothing wrong with that.
No, but I battle it. I think there's a battle in my head way too much. Like just on how I see things. Like I don't know. Like because I hate when people say, "Oh, I'm a good guy," and it's like, well, you use the word "guy" in that statement, so right away I don't agree with you. So, secondly, everybody's good and bad, but you're a little bit more of each, right? With me, I'm always trying to like just keep the bad down as much as I can. Like when I don't accept the fact that I have it, I make it worse. So if I don't own up to my bad, it makes it worse. So it's kind of it's weird like that. How do you deal with then keeping a positive setting routine? Like what is it that is a positive like 24-hour thing that you would do or you practice that would help? Like positivity. I'm being dead serious. I would love to be more positive.
I would like to play my Tibetan singing bowls. I personally do that.
Really?
I think that's very soothing.
Yeah, I believe it would be. Buddy, you're freezing and it looks like you're napping, but no. What would you use, buddy?
I like to go fishing, Mike.
Really? So putting worms on hooks which fall off, and then you get
no, Mike, not
in the weeds, and then you got
not like that, Mike. No, I know how to, I actually know how to fish.
Oh, all right,
I can catch the fish. It's just being out in nature, silence, serenity. Yeah. One with the water, one with the earth. You know, that kind of shit.
Can I tell you? I felt bad. I was so much props to Matt Warner, Sarah Gagney, Sarah Paranormal. I can't think there's more people. There's Rick, Jackie, Holly. I want to thank them all for the weekend. For the weekend. And actually, you know what, Cynn?
And Buddy.
Of course, I was going to thank Buddy right now. I'm wearing. Look at the shirt that I'm wearing. Do I have to thank him?
I know. It's fabulous.
See that right there? That's a paint by number, real painting that he sent me, and I was forced to do it. Like, because if you're gonna send me a photo of your head by paint by, I'm gonna paint it. I'm not gonna like it. It took me like 2.5 hours, but now I'm keeping it.
It's a great painting, Mike.
It's fantastic.
All
right. Yeah, it's cool.
Cynn, go ahead. No, you don't like it at all. She didn't like it at all. You hear that? It's cool. But she goes, I would not keep that in mind. That's how people. That's how we react to haunted dolls. How she just reacted.
Oh, I hate haunted dolls.
Yeah, well,
I put my middle finger right up to the one that Rick Lies.
We're not haunted.
I can't stand them.
So wait a minute. So
they're not haunted.
Dolls, you don't believe dolls are haunted? Explain that. What them?
Annabelle is the only one I know that is.
All right, but if there's one, couldn't there be others? I'm saying.
I don't know.
Like, I'm a math geek, so I'm just thinking if there's one, there's always a chance there's another one.
Right.
Yeah.
Chucky?
Yeah, see, look, I don't believe in any, really, and I don't want to. No, here's the thing. I do, but I don't want to. I don't want to acknowledge them. Buddy knows this. We don't even want to look them in the eyes. Like,
I don't like dolls.
I'm not acknowledging it. Like, I'm just like this. It's just like, I don't.
They're ugly.
Cynn, about good, bad energy. Dolls having it. Locations definitely have it, right? People
absolutely have it. Land of the property, people at the property, anything like that. Structure of the property.
Domestic violence goes through the roof on like haunted property. It honestly, God, it's like in every case. It's just they seem to all get angry with each other. Like, so here's my thing. Sometimes, like, I got two going to be 20-year-olds, twins, they're 19, and they can bring energy into the house and totally change it. Like they just dropped dye in a fish tank. Like it's just like they come into the house and now everything's like chaotic, and it's just like, what am I going to do with this stuff? I can't put a blanket on them. I've tried that. I was reported once. How do you handle energy that comes in the room like that? Like bang, pop. Like, I mean, serious. Like sometimes people have just this, like they're just either frantic or they're whatever, and you just want to like be able to help them, but it's almost like you want to turn them down so they're not affecting how you react. You just want to be cool with it. Like how do you deal with that? It sounds like you have a better grip on that than I do.
Who, me?
Yeah, no,
I don't think
so. Buddy.
Yes, you.
Oh, Buddy.
How could you not? You've gone through how many houses with how many different haunted
I investigated last night, and it was some pretty intense stuff, but it wasn't at all scary. It's just a good situation. It's just a good experience.
Buddy, you are the Matthew McConaughey of this show. And I knew the one from Dazed and Confused, which is one of my favorite ones. Oddly enough, though, one of my favorite movies would be
Dazed and Confused.
No, Maybe I Do. It's also got Brad Pitt in it. Yeah, it actually has Richard Gere in it. Came out this year, 2023. So that's kind of weird. We're back to Richard Gere. Yeah, thank you. We're gonna wrap up.
No, I have another question.
Well, I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna give everybody one more question. You're gonna get one more question. So, Cynn, what would you ask?
Yes. Okay. So, thought forms. You touched on the girl drawing the demon. So she kind of manifested something to show up. So, talk a little bit about thought forms that you have run into.
Wow.
This was a case that came out of the early 80s. It was two classmates that were looking for a rental house. And it was a case that they saw originally. It never made it to the paper because it was a nice area. I guess people didn't want to exit. But according to what they found out about the house they were renting, there was a 12-year-old girl that found this book, and you guys can still find this probably in the library. I actually Googled it and found it on Amazon. But the original book is cursed, and it's called Dictionnaire Infernal. It's a French, infernal dictionary. And inside you'll see plates and plates, not dishes, but illustrations, real intricate illustrations of different, demons. And this girl apparently was playing with this book that she found in the library. It happened to be this one. And she would draw. I mean, she was technically a very talented artist, and she would draw them. And they came to life.
Wow. Yeah.
And they saw this thing she drew thousands of miles away in Europe.
So, is she drawing it, or is it making her draw it? You know what I mean by that?
Good question.
She sees, is it putting it in her head to draw me?
It could be that. I mean, the book that's cursed is the original one when it was first. We're talking something out of the 1800s. The one she got in her hands, from what I understand, is probably a reprint. Because otherwise it wouldn't be in the public library. But the pictures on there, when you flip through a picture book like that, I don't know what's going to happen. It's like opening an Ouija board. And that's what it sounded like to me. Mm-hmm. When he was originally telling me this, I said to him, "Are you sure she wasn't playing with an Ouija board?" He said, no, he was playing with a book that had a listing of all the different kinds of demons. And they were they had sketches of the demons. She would copy them. And she talked to the landlady of the house, who happened to live right next door to the girl when the girl was alive.
Right there, though.
The girl passed away because of what happened.
Oh, no.
How old was she?
She was 12 when all this stuff started, and it was only within a year. And then she drowned in a public pool.
Oh.
I said over the weekend, the last way I'd want to go is drowning. I would rather be burned than drown. I'm being dead serious too. Because
I don't want either one.
You'd burn for a couple minutes, you'd smell something, it would numb out, and you die. But drowning is that. Don't want that at all. In a public pool, especially. That's just. All right, buddy, you're up.
Both of them sound pretty awful. So, Anna Maria, I'd like to thank you for coming on the show. It's always great to hear about ghost stuff. I eat this stuff up. I could listen to it all day. You briefly touched upon UFOs in your research in UFOs. Can you tell us anything about your experiences with UFOs? Have you had experiences? Have you found anything in your research? Join us live on Thursday at 8:05 for Mike Priest with Paranormal Clips. I forget who Dale's having for her last show for a month, and I don't have anyone for next Sunday yet. So go ahead, give me what you got. I'm sorry.
Cynn, question?
I just asked the question, Mike. I just threw it in there.
Yeah, I got nothing.
No, I'm just trying to get that. I was trying to take it off you, buddy. My bad. I'm just trying to. I don't like. Listen to me.
Okay.
Buddy, Tuesday, 11:30, HR. Don't park in the front. Anna, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Now, in answer to, in reply to Buddy's question, I was a UFO investigator for about 1.5 to 2 years. And let me tell you, there was a lot of stuff that were unreported that people would share with me that they did not want on the website. So what I did was I wrote them all out in my first book, which also has the Mothman demonic experience in there. Yes, I have actually have encountered a UFO. One was less than 500 feet from above a Wawa, of all places, at 5:55 in the morning. It looked like a man's comb, like it was bent, and it was in green, pink, and yellow. It was very vivid. It was unmistakably very pronounced in the sky.
Yeah, wasn't hiding in those colors. You cannot hide in those colors. No, it's very bright.
Yeah.
Skittily.
Yeah. So.
Good.
Yeah, some strange stuff there. I mean, I had reports of mantises, like the insect,
Really?
and they're huge. We're talking 9 feet tall. It was a woman jogger. Actually, it's a state park close to here. She was jogging at nightfall. She was not supposed to be in the state park because they're closed, but she figured she'd do her 3 miles, and she regretted it. She was going back to her car thinking maybe the police was there to give her a citation. She started running towards it, and next thing you know, it was a mantis.
Yeah.
It extended what looked like a wand, and then the next thing you know, she woke up. She was on the driver's side of the car with her head slumped on the wheel, and she had these scoop marks on both her legs.
Oh.
You know what? So, we've discussed. We had Alan Hurd. Am I saying his name correct? Oh, Shane Hurd. Why do I do that? I do it every time with his name. I have certain words that I can't get out of my dumb head. Shane Hurd from Arizona. Move on.
Shane.
Yeah, Hurd.
Hurd.
This is a Rhode Island accent, so I apologize, but it would be spelled Hurd. Hurd. But I say Hurd. So, anyways, he was talking about the different types of aliens, and that's the type that always scares me the most. And I was saying it over the weekend. Is the praying mantis ones, because when people bring those up, something about those praying mantis are not going to be nice.
No,
I can't see those aliens being the ones that are jovial, and telling jokes. Just not going to happen, right? Don't like them.
Right.
So, do you believe in these different species that have been here? There were like good 3-4 in your own beliefs, like because that's what we've talked about.
There's some good stuff, and there's some real bad ones, like the reptilians.
I love hearing people's
and
opinions.
I have a reptilian story for you, but that's
Well, all right.
You want to hear the reptilian story?
Yes, I do.
yes.
Okay. So this goes back to way back when my uncle and aunt lived out in California, and we were taking a road trip to San Diego. We were on the freeway. We exited towards Death Valley, and we were getting gas. My aunt went in to get some snacks. My uncle was pumping gas. His back was turned. I was coming out of the van. And in the next bay over were 2 people, or what I thought were 2 people. One was out with the gas pump connected to what looked like a black Cadillac, big vehicle, SUV. The other one was on the driver's side, sitting behind the wheel. And I thought, this is like Hollywood land. These people are probably dressed like Darth Vader or whatever they were dressed at. They looked like they were crocodiles. They had crocodile skin. And they were green. And I thought, they're wearing costumes. And then one turned towards me, and his entire face, I almost withered. I was rooted to the spot. It had the eyes of a snake, and it was looking right at me. And the way it looked like it was going to kill me.
Yeah, well, it's almost like that's what you get when you stare into the eyes of a reptilian. Like, yeah, it would probably want to kill you. That's a horrifying thing to see. Like, again, serpents.
So,
Not
yeah,
friendly.
I went back into the van. I shut the door. I didn't say a word to anybody. I didn't want them looking at these things. So she just came over back from the snack, whatever, and we just went on our way.
So you didn't say anything to them?
No, because I didn't want them looking or scrutinizing because they were just purely evil.
Did you look back at them as you were leaving?
As we were driving away, the one had pulled whatever was, the gas, whatever pump back. And I was so afraid they were going to follow us because of the way the guy looked at me or whatever he was. And then they just kind of pulled out and they went a different direction. Thank goodness.
Yeah, Cynn, what? Have you never heard of stranger danger? You don't ask them a question. You see that it's a snake, you're going to be like, hey, guy, what gas you getting? 86, 89? What are you pumping? No. So you just said, well, did you ask them questions? No, I would say no to that. I think you should say no. Like, buddy, would you answer a question of a reptilian at a gas station?
Yeah, I would probably get in my car and drive off as fast as I could.
Good call, buddy. Good, way to hang in there. How are the loons?
The loons are beautiful this evening, Mike.
Okay. All right. Anna, I had a great time talking with you. You are someone that I guarantee could just keep spinning stories that you have, and they're amazing. And I don't know. I'd be worried that you have had so much stuff happen. That's a lot. Like, it doesn't weigh on you. Like, you don't carry the bag of all these different things, or is it you just bounce off stuff and it's brand new?
I guess I'm just bouncing off of all of them because, life seems to be just that way. I mean, you're walking a path of strangeness and you figure, okay, I'm going to write them all down. Why not?
Don't you feel like once you get them down in print, you can kind of forget about them a little bit and move on?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very cleansing and it establishes the reality of it. When people tell me their stories and everything, they feel relieved. Like in Night Visitants, when that woman told me all this stuff that was happening to her entire life. She says, I really feel good because now I can hand it to my kids and they can read what happened to us and I don't have to explain anything.
Right. That's awesome.
So, and Cynn, that's basically not basically what you do, but your style.
Pretty much.
Yeah, your books.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Once you get them in print, you can
Buddy,
just kind of move on.
Buddy, two authors. There's two authors here below us. The bottom square is for the authors. So Anna, I had a great time. We'd love to do it again. Is there anything you'd like to promote right now? Again, on Amazon, the books, anything like that? Did you hear me, Anna?
No, I'm sorry, I lost you.
Yeah. Here I am. Any of your books you'd like to promote?
Yeah, I have all 5 books and the 6th one on my website, which is AnnaMariaManaloAuthor.com. That's a direct link to Amazon, or they can just go on Amazon and type The Night Visitants. My understanding is when you type that one, all the other ones come up.
Okay. Or your whole name, author.
Yeah. I'm also going to be at the Hell House Paracon on September 9th. For anybody in Pennsylvania, I'll be at the Doylestown Arts Festival the next day. I also have a book signing tour coming up in Lidditz, Pennsylvania. And then after that, I am going to be in New Jersey. I'm trying to remember the name of the Rancaucus and the Collingswood Books Festival. Cynn, you got to do these book festivals. They're a lot of fun.
I can't find them. I've got to hook up with you so I can find these book festivals.
Oh, okay. So what I could do is publish the book tour that I have so far, and I'll tag you on it on Facebook.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So, one thing though, we talked about the common sense part before, and you're going to the Hell House Paragon.
Yep.
What do you think is going to happen at the Hell House?
I don't really know the history of the Hell House, but all I know is that it was an estate that was infested. It's going to be a venue where you've got all kinds of different celebrities there and writers as well, Cynn. And so I'm going to be indoors right next to the Harrisburg area paranormal people. I got a couple of psychic friends that are going to be outside. So it should be fun.
It does sound
That's wonderful.
fun. Much more fun than the other stuff you've been talking about. Like that's been terrifying.
I'm wearing my cross to Hell House.
Yeah. I had to wear the cross, Italian horn. It was the hand gesture like this. It was Milwaukee, I think. Like that. Like they would jinx you. Like my old Italian nanas were always like, someone would jinx you. They put the Milwaukee on you. It was bad vibe, and you'd have to get it off you. Like they always believed that. So maybe just the way we are. Maybe we're just crazy. I'd probably take both. Anna, thank you again. I'm gonna do the wrap up here real quick. So for Anna Maria Manalo, right?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. For Cynn Shrader Hill Author. For Buddy Money Thayer. It is me, Michael P. King, Mike L. This was a Legit Paranormal, brought to you by Legit Podcast.com. We will see you tomorrow night. We have, I think, 1 show, 2 shows.